your presentation and get you going.
And remember as well, people can pop questions into the chat, or they can come to a drop-in session with myself later on after the break. So it's just a one-to-one chat with me if they
Yeah.
would prefer to do that. So as well.
Yeah, I was going to mention that if anyone has a bit more kind of personal or deep divey questions that they want to get into, you can reach Lorraine after her presentation. She'll be doing kind of drop-in one-to-one sessions until 1 p.m. So we can
Yeah.
schedule you in for one of those sessions. You can just type it to any AHEAD member in the chat and just let us know you're interested in doing a drop-in session. But meanwhile, we'll get your presentation up on the screen, Lorraine, and get you going. Let's get there. Let's see, Lorraine, did you want to share it or should we have one of us share it? What are you thinking?
Do you know what? I can share it here. I have it here actually.
Okay, yeah, that works.
Just back to the beginning. Sure.
There we go. Looks like it's.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna make it into the flight mode.
Perfect. I'm excited for this one as well, just for a bit more kind of pointed tips and that kind of thing. So
yeah, so it'll be just a little bit more pointed tips, and I'm just gonna turn off the captions thing here on because it annoys me when it's going along. I'm kind of like, oh, stop moving. So make sure that this actually works for me as well. Hold on. So
perfect. And if anyone wants their own
oh,
captions, yeah, you can still get your own captions on the bottom screen by clicking the CC button. So if you need your own captions, you can use those.
Yeah.
Perfect. Whenever you're ready, Lorraine, go ahead.
That's perfect. Yeah. So as Erica said, I'm the information and training officer in AHEAD, and so I'm the face of the person that you're ringing up or that you're emailing when you're coming to me to get information about. So as the slide now, just very quickly go through because many of you won't know what we actually do in AHEAD. You may be new to AHEAD today. So this slide really just tells you about what we do, right? So if you ring up AHEAD or you email AHEAD, it's probably going to come to me, right? So I can talk to you about, you could be asking me about your application to college, where you're thinking of going, how you apply, the kind of supports that are available that were talked about by the panel today as well. And then of course we have the events like today's event. And then if you're in third level, and then if you contact me, then it could be because you're having an issue in college, right? So rather than me ringing up the college saying Bob or Mary or whoever, I'll help you to unravel what's going on, and then for you to go back to the college and solve it yourself. So it's all about kind of self advocacy. Then, of course, we run a program called Get Ahead, and we have the WAM program, and they're all about employment, right? So Get Ahead is about making the transition from college into the world of work. So I could be giving you information about that, or you could be attending an event to do with Get Ahead. So there's loads of things that you could be thinking about in college, because when you're in college, I mean, ultimately the thing is you want to begin the journey into the workplace as well. So we have lots of things going on within third level as well, and we do a lot of work with students' unions. I know the panel mentioned the student unions earlier on as well. And then of course you can, begin your journey into work. We talk about disclosure as well. Disclosure is a thing, I suppose, that we're encouraged to do, or we encourage people to do that on the journey into college. And for some people it can be easy, and for some of you it's going to be hard, because for lots of reasons you may not want to disclose, but we always say no, you should disclose, right? And many of you, if you go to third level, will do it on the CAO, and that information is directly fed to the colleges. But so we provide information around how to disclose, both at entry level into college and then when you're thinking about work. And we can post that into the chat. I think it was posted into the chat earlier on, but maybe we could post the disclosure document into the chat again. So that's kind of what we do in terms of across the kind of three areas. So we work in quite a broad area. So when you're ringing us, there's no such thing as a silly question or oh no, we can't ask that or oh no. Sometimes it's just about pointing people in the right direction or just having somebody to talk to who's maybe not directly involved or directly involved with the college. So just in terms of even like today, many of you are thinking about actually where am I going to go to college? What am I actually going to do? Right. So obviously going to events like this and open days and there's lots of online events, right, that you can go to. And then you might be thinking about like where am I actually going to go? Am I going to stay at home? Am I going to, get the bus or the train or whatever to college, or am I going to go further afield? Am I going to move to another county or indeed another country? So, you have to think about, how you're going to live away from home, right? So you might want to explore um, accommodation, even in terms of the actual college campus itself. If you are, say, for example, a wheelchair user, or you have a sensory disability like you're blind or you're deaf, you might want to check out, is that the right campus for you? I know as a wheelchair user, you might want to be in a campus that's very big or maybe too hilly. So there are all the things that you have to kind of think about um, before you make your final decision. And then there's the whole thing about where do I stay if I don't actually want to be at home and I want to go away and you know live in accommodation. Some colleges obviously have their own accommodation on the campus, which can be great, but it's snapped up really quickly. So it's something that you need to be on top of, even in terms of getting accommodation that suits your needs can sometimes be difficult. So just being aware that you need to start planning early. You need to start making decisions early in the year, not just the last minute when you're finally the week before you move. I'm going to start looking for accommodation. And then there's things like some people will need uh, specialist transport. So there's things like Fantastic or the college, if you are a wheelchair user, will organise a taxi, right? That's actually organised through the Disability Support Service. So in order to get the taxi service sorted, you'd need to be actually registered in the college rather than making a decision about if you're going to go there. I think those kind of fine details wouldn't be sorted until you're actually started in college in terms of things like transport. So just a very small little bit about financial assistance in third level colleges, right? There is the fund for students with disabilities. Now, the panel talked about getting support services earlier on. This is just what pays for those supports if they're coming through the disability service. It's called the Fund for Students with Disabilities. It's administered by them. It's not a fund for you in the sense that you know it's going to give someone's going to give you cash and you can go and spend that on food or books or anything like that. It's only related to disability support services and it is administered by them. It's available in higher education institutions and it's available in further education, right? So when you register with the disability service, that's what they use to pay for your supports. Um, and then of course you have things like scholarships, right? So for example, there's the 1960 bursary. Um, there is the student assistance. There's the student grant, Susie. There's the student assistance fund as well. That's for students who need a bit of extra money. Again, that is something that is applied for really, a lot of students apply for that early in the year, right? And the application process can be difficult in the sense that they do look for a lot of money when it comes to the student assistance fund, right? Not a lot of money, sorry. They look for a lot of paperwork before they decide the amount that you'll get, right? You know, it's very early. For me, it's very early on a Saturday morning. I think I need more coffee. So anyway, the Student Assistance Fund is there for students should they get into financial difficulty during the year in college, the time in college. There is also, of course, the Back to Education Allowance, um, which you can get as well. Now, you don't, that's for students who maybe are a little bit older, right? So you wouldn't be a school leaver if you were getting back to education allowance. You might be slightly older. So that means that you're returning to education, right? And if you want information about funding at third level, there's a great section on the HEA website, the studentfinance.ie. So you'll get information there as well about funding. But you'll also get funding if you're already in college, right? You'll get information about funding from the Students' Union as well, right? But the very important thing is for everybody is to check out Susie. Are you actually entitled to a student grant? You can get a student grant as well if you are on disability allowance, right? So don't be thinking, oh, I'm on disability allowance, I can't get a grant. You can, right? It is not in the income reckoning, it's taken out. But just be mindful of the fact that the Susie grant, if you're it goes on the household income of the entire house, right? And it goes on last year's um tax return for the previous year. That's always the way tax is done. But just to be aware that these are funding options for you and to check them out in good time, because again, a lot of these applications look for a lot of paperwork. So the panel have already, I suppose, in many ways they've already kind of they've already well discussed it in great detail actually about the importance of really registering with the disability service um, as soon as you start, right? In fact, once you know you're going to go there, you can contact the disability service and in some cases, they'll meet you early, right? Um, Particularly if you have more complex needs, right? They will do what's called needs assessment, where they sit down with you and they'll discuss what your support needs are in the college, right? So, do you need assistance, technology or whatever in lectures, um, during your study time, all the different aspects during labs? Are you going to be going out on trips as part of your course? So they look at all of these elements, and they'll also look at things like, for many of you, as you move through college, you'll be doing placements, right? So it's very important that when you are in college and these things come up, that you link back in with the disability service, because they can do an update to your needs assessment to make sure that all of those elements are supported. And always remember as well that they'll do a needs assessment at the beginning of the year. But if you feel like the support you have need to be tweaked or you need more support, that you can go back to the disability service. That in a way, the needs assessment form that you get, it's kind of like a working document. They really do have what we call an open door policy in education, right? In the colleges. So if you are having difficulties, please do go back. That report outlines the accommodations that you need and that these are communicated to the lecturers, right? They won't have necessarily information about what your disability is. In fact, I don't think they do at all nowadays, but they will understand what your reasonable accommodations are. What reasonable accommodations is the legal term for disability related supports, right? So you yourself, and I think one of the students on one of the people on the panel did talk about going to the lecturer and talking about their disability. But in many cases, the lecturers won't know. It'll just be that they'll know what your reasonable accommodations are. So, what is a reasonable accommodation? So, really, that's anything, right, that's put in place to support you and your disability needs, right? And they're in place in a variety of different environments. For example, you've got lecture support, you've got exam supports, you've got placement supports, you've got lab supports. So, that whole process of needs assessment and reasonable accommodation looks across what you're doing on your actual course. So that's why it's very important for you to go to the disability service at the beginning of the year so that all of those elements can be covered and supported. So just in terms of exam supports, the things are like an exam, like 89% of students with disabilities, we gather the stats every year for the types of supports and the numbers of students who access disability supports in higher education, right? So we do that every year. And so from this information, I can tell, and for any of you that are thinking, like what was said on the panel this morning, the fear of going and getting support, it's a well-trodden path, well-trodden. And there are a huge range of supports. And here we see on my list here in front of me, 89% of students with disabilities in the year 21-22 received exam accommodations, right? So you've got things like extra time. Extra time is usually, the standard would be 10 minutes per hour, right? An alternative venue could be a smaller venue where everybody in that venue has the extra 10 minutes per hour, right? Or in a small number of cases, you could be in a room on your own, right? A tip sheet or a sticker is something for the examiner, right? That tells them that this person has the type of disability which will affect how they interact with the assessment. So, for example, if you have dyslexia, right, you might have a spelling and grammar waiver, and there's a tip sheet or a sticker to indicate that to the examiner, right? For some people, it's the use of a computer because they may have difficulty with writing with a pen or paper, or they may be using a piece of assistive technology, right? So they might be using voice input software where they're speaking the answers to the exam questions actually onto the computer, right? Or you might have somebody who is reading the exam paper for you, right? The exam questions, right? And then alternative formats, and many of you are probably already familiar with these, could be um, an electronic document, so document that's on the computer. That's what an electronic document is. Or it could be in braille, or it could be for somebody who's has a visual impairment. It could be an exam paper which has been enlarged, so enlarged paper. So all of these things are available to you once you go and register and disclose to the disability service, and they sit down with you and they look at what are your support needs. Can't move my slide. That could be my, hold on. There we go. So just a little bit about assistive technology, right? It's everywhere, right? We're all very familiar with assistive technology. We call it assistive technology, but I mean our phone. Where would we be without our phone, right? So it can be, as we see in the pictures here, a pair of glasses are an assistive technology, aren't they? Pencils, walking canes. There's loads of technology, right? You've got really low tech things like that, and then you've got like the mid tech, which is very common nowadays, is the spell check in Word. That's technology, an assistive technology. The mouse, there's different kinds of mouses you can get. You've got calculators, the TV remote, my favorite. Where would you be without the TV remote? So there's all these things that are actually, so many things nowadays are actually built in. I actually got the um the Google Nest, the Nest thing for the heating, and I love it. The Nest thermostat. That means I can be away from home and turn on my heating, right? So many of the colleges, definitely the third level institutions, they all have an assistive technologist, right? And they will sit down with you if you need assistive technology, and they will go through it with you, and they will show you how to use it, right? It's really important that you get shown how to use it, because even though you might be familiar with technology and some things on the computer, they will know little tips and tricks that you maybe don't know, right? So it's really important to go and meet with this technologist. I know there will be some technology that is available on all the computers, which is brilliant, right? But if you have got you know, very specific needs, it is well worth going to see a technologist, and they will sit down with you. And a speech technologist, they love technology, and they love showing you how to do things, and they love to show you all the tips and tricks. So definitely go to see this technologist. And as I said, the technology is so available nowadays, and it's so much of it nowadays is actually freely available actually on your computer. And I'm going to show you in a few minutes. We have, here we go, the AT5, right? We have this on the Ahead website. Um, and really it's so good, right? You can explore technology that's available. Some of it's free, some of it's more specialist technology, right? And all you have to do is answer 3 questions, and it will give you examples of technology that will be useful for you, right? So it's absolutely well worth visiting that. We get loads of really good feedback about that section of our website, and what's brilliant about it is as well is it actually has little videos in it that show you how to use that piece of technology, right? So it's well worth going to visit that. Now, the guys earlier on were talking about this, getting organized. Oh my God, don't get overwhelmed. There are really, really good services in the college, right? But you yourself also have to be proactive, right? Remember, when you go to college, it's not like being in school where you're told where to go and people know when you're not in. Your parents get sent a little message. Why isn't Johnny or Mary or whoever in today? Right? In college, it's not like that. If you don't turn up or if you don't hand in assignments, you just don't hand them in. No one's going to run after you, right? Go looking for you. And you are dealing with a lot of change. And it can be a bit of a struggle at the beginning to kind of get to grips with that, right? You've suddenly turned 18, you're suddenly a fully fledged adult, and you have to manage it all yourself, right? But I mean, there are obviously there are services in the college, and you should go if you're struggling. But it's very important that you get organised at the beginning of the year, right? And it will help you stay on top of things if you get yourself organised at the beginning of the year. And this can be because some of us are not really organised. So I can be a bit like that. I have to work really hard at being organised. So there are many services now that are available across the colleges. There's learning support, student support. They can all help you as well in terms of getting organised. But it's and you want to get enough sleep, right? Enough time for yourself as well as studying. So thinking about that, getting yourself organised. So what can you do, right? My go-to thing is always my calendar. Everything goes in the calendar. Erica, who's turned off her camera there, she always laughs at me because everything is in Lorraine's calendar, right? I even now this is a bit bold. I hope my boss, well, Erica is my boss, she's my manager, but the other bigger boss, I hope he's not listening today, right? Because I even put into that things to do with my daughter with school because I'd be like, oh my god, right? And I've color coded my daughter in blue, giving away the tricks and the tips now, right? So setting up your calendar so you can keep on track, right? And I would be doing things like not only the lectures and classes, I would also include in that things like the things extracurricular activities you're going to be doing. You're going to be going out with the students' union. You're going to be going canoeing. You're going to be going rock climbing, right? You need to put those things in as well because when you see them in the diary, you can then make sense of how much time you have in your day, right? Time for study, time for going to the lectures, time to see your lecturer or your supervisor, whoever, right? All of those things go in the diary. And what's great about diaries is they come in so many different formats, right? You can have a physical diary or you can have an online diary. And I know with the Google the calendar, a lot of the um college calendars can be, you can actually put that into the Google calendar. So it's actually created a calendar for you. So actually do that. That's really one of the key things from today is getting yourself organized and thinking about how are you going to make sure that you stay on top of all that change. all those things you're going to have to do, right? And the color coding for some people is really helpful, right? So you might color code your lectures in, I don't know, red. You might color code your, time in the Students' Union in blue, and you might color code stuff for home in yellow. I don't know. Just using different colors are really handy as well. So those features, getting used to the features. And actually, do you know what? The assistant technology officer, if there's anyone listening on this call today, they will help you with that if you get stuck, right? So have a little checklist for yourself, right? Consult, obviously, as I said, look at your diary. These are kind of silly, they sound like silly things, but they're not really. These are important things, right? Try and keep a bit tidy. When we used to be, we're not really in the office that much anymore. Well, we have a clean desk policy in ahead now in the office. Years ago, when we were in the office before COVID, my desk was full of paperwork because I'm the information officer, right? Stacks of paper, but I had to try and keep it tidy. So keeping the place tidy so you can find the things, right? Use to-do lists to break things down, right? I've got to do this first. Then I've got to go and I've got to see my lecturer on economics. Then I've got to go and meet Bob or Fred for coffee. Right? Breaking things down. A study plan and keeping it realistic. Right? There's only so many hours in the day, days in the week. And then you have to think about like exam timetables, assessments. And assessments nowadays start at the beginning of the year from day one. They start, right? You go into your classes, into lectures, and the assessments are a lot of them there can be in class assessments, in lecture assessments as well. So be prepared for the fact that there are now a lot of assessments, right? Prioritize, right? What comes first? Get to grips with note taking. There are a lot of note taking services in the college. Even I went to the note taking classes, and they were brilliant. Because, as was said by one of the panelists earlier, I think it was Callum, said earlier on, that when you go to college, you do an academic writing. You've never done academic writing before. How do you do it? Right? Go to the writing centre, right? And also, as part of that, you will be taught how to take notes, right? And that is a brilliant skill, and you need it in order to get notes in your keeping on top of your lectures, right? And you need the notes obviously to refer back. You need the notes to refer back to for your exams as well. So being aware of that, right? So developing a system for organizing all the material and the reading that you have to do for each different subject, right? You might use filing. Again, you might use color coding to be aware of all of the things. So you've a lot of things to think about when you start college, right? And as we said earlier on, I can't overemphasize the importance of joining and getting involved in a club or society, right? So it's a great way to make new friends, you'll learn new skills, and obviously as well, talents, and you'll expand your network of friends. You'll get an opportunity to meet new people. And actually, when you actually finish in college or you're getting towards the end, it can open doors to work, right? Many people that I went to college with, we now move in the same circles, and opportunities have come up over the years because we know each other, right? So don't underestimate the importance of the friends that you meet and make when you're in college. Erica, how much time do I have left?
You're getting towards the end there, so
Am I getting towards the end?
yeah.
Run me on quick.
No huge deal. You're doing well, and I think it's very informative. So you're doing well.
So, and then this is just an example on this slide of the many societies that are actually in colleges. So you've got the GCU Neurodivergent Society, the Trinity College Sign Language Society, NUG, it's not NUG anymore, it's University of Galway, Impact Societies. There's loads, and maybe you have something that you're particularly interested in and that you want to set up a society. So, for example, you could be a mad film buff, right? Jess, who organised today, she actually studied film. I'm giving that away now, Jess. And if there was no, so for example, if there was no film society, maybe you could set up your own film society. So, there's always that as well. They haven't got one you're interested in, set up your own. And that way as well, that's how you meet your tribe. Oh, I met so and so. A lot of people meet their husbands and partners actually when they're in college. It's true. I know good few people who got married to people from college. So, just to say very quickly, the Get Ahead program, as I mentioned earlier on, it is for people who are transitioning into the world of work. Please sign up. You can sign up for that on our website. Erica, for 2 seconds, just talk about the conference,
Yeah,
Power
happy
Disability.
to. Happy to. So, first, our Students with Disabilities Advisory Group. So, you've already met four of the members, as well as the co-chair, Lisa, this morning. They were all part of the student panel. So, this is a group that we run alongside USI, the Union of Students of Ireland. And it's a group of students with disabilities who feed into AHEAD's work and research, as well as the work of USI. So, really powerful and important group. And you're welcome to apply for that group once you're past secondary school and still a student. So, the group kind of has a new iteration every year. Really exciting and kind of powerful group. And then this group is also responsible for running an annual conference called Power of Disability, which is completely student centered and student ran and student organized, student led, really made and directed for students. And it's kind of more about empowerment and really huge on student voice. So that's happening next year, February 7th and 8th. You can sign up to the Ahead newsletter to hear more about it and kind of get updates about it. I recommend everyone sign up for the Ahead newsletter. It only comes out once a week, and it just kind of keeps you posted about what's going on. It's really powerful. So we might pop the link into the chat there for that.
Oh,
So yeah,
fab. Brilliant.
two big things: the advisory group and Power of Disability conference.
Yeah, and the
And
Power Disability Conference is brilliant. So for anybody who will be in college at that time, please, please, or anyone knows anyone, sign up. It's fantastic.
it really is, yeah.
And that's the end. So